You were selling, I think it's like the mid market. Like what does a mid market customer look like for Zoom, and how would you kind of describe that sales process? Was it fairly transactional and quick, or was it, a longer, felt more, maybe more enterprise, a lot of stakeholder sort of sales process? Like how did you sort of think about the customer and matching it to the sales process?
Yeah, it's so I would imagine it's very similar to most companies that I talk to as far as what a mid-market space is. So just, but in general, at that time, very we were a little bit more inbound. We're trying to get to market, so there was a good balance between inbound and outbound efforts. We were both. Just to be clear, we weren't like separated or segregated or separated by only inbound or only outbound. We were both. So you had to get good at both those skills, which is another key point, right? So balancing the inbound and outbound. In general, what my takeaway on the mid-market space though is you got the size of the company that you're selling to really determines their buying process. Most mid-market companies really are trying to figure out what they want to do when they grow up too. They probably don't have a full built-out internal IT team. They're usually using outsourced programs, MSPs, partners. They might have one person in internal from an IT perspective, but they probably don't have like a CIO yet or a CTO. So understanding where they are in their life cycle is a huge part of selling into the mid-market space, because you're understanding how much they have to take on. A lot of those conversations are around how you make the IT, the software, people who manage the software, how do you make their life easier? How do you make it simpler on them? Because most oftentimes when you are selling to a mid-market company that is in that lower life cycle, they just want to be burdened. It's not that your product is or isn't a great fit for them or that's the right thing. And so we just don't have the bandwidth. We don't have this is going to add more complexity. So that's a big hurdle to overcome in that space.
Did you think of your sales cycle as more like bottoms up or tops down? Because I assume you're working with this IT buyer, and then like I imagine you eventually want to go wall to wall within the company, and you're going to sell, every single person at the company should have a Zoom license. Like that makes sense, right? If you're using this type of technology. But I imagine some people are like, ooh, let's try it with these people first, and then we kind of go from there. Or if I were you, I'd be like, well, this is the demo. This is the proof of concept. We're on the Zoom call
We're
right
doing it.
now, right? We're doing it
Right
right
now.
now, right? And so I'm curious how you thought about that, like proving value in the sales cycle, because it's a big decision for a mid-market company to say, hey, we're going to overhaul all of our video conferencing software. So how did you sort of prove the value in that process and think about it?
Yeah, love that question, and it really is a perfect mix between the two. Ideally, the benefit of a mid-market space is that you have easier access to a top-down sale. That's a for sure statement, right? Usually there's they wear many hats, the decision makers, and they're also accessible, and they're also trying to figure out how to make it work. So that's great. And the outbound motion makes it very, very, very solid approach. But what you have to get good at when you are balancing the inbound element, why is there an inbound element? Well, somebody at that company said, hey, I have a need, and we're kind of too small of a company. It's not really getting served, or maybe I have the ability to kind of go off on my own and figure out what's right for my role, what's going to make me successful. A lot of mid-market sized companies do provide that autonomy for their employees. So that's that building the champion motion and selling and creating groundswell, basically making the product a need within departments and teams, so that the above the line, the buyer is like, well, we don't have a choice now. So if you have a really good product fit, I think you're doing both at the same time, especially in the mid-market space. Probably not so much so in different segmentations, but definitely in the mid-market space.
Yeah, because I imagine the sale is so much easier once you kind of like, I don't know, seed Zoom links to each little department, and then they start using it for their calls and things like that. And then you can go to the CISO or whoever the main buyer is and say, hey, look, all these teams are using it. It's really easy, buy
Totally.
the security features or whatever the things that they need. Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially when it depends on the company too. If you have a freemium type product, that bottoms up entry point becomes a lot easier. and it allows you to treat those users as leads and really dig in to understand the intricacies of the business. They're a little bit more willing to share the day to day, and which helps you build a great case when you do finally get access.